Good evening. Welcome to this evening's edition of the Evening Review. My name is Jemima Beekers, your host. Now, a topic that has been on everyone's lips is the national anthem. The late Achille Doiseb, who passed on just a week ago, has been praised for the national anthem. However, in the last 2 weeks, controversy has sprung up again, and now there are questions around who has really written the anthem. We are also talking about the Gaup Festival of the Damara chief, Justus Karweb, who's always surrounded with controversy when they extend an invitation to President Hage Geingob. So for us to unpack this, we've brought into studio today Ms. Rosa Namises. She's a social activist. She's also a former politician that has been part and parcel of SWAPO, the ruling party, before she left it. Thank you for joining us, Ms. Namises.
Thank you, Yemima. Thank you for bringing me here. At this point, I don't know whether I'll say it's hot or very cold situation.
Yes, indeed. It is all the extremes. Thank you for joining us, Ms. Namises. Ms. Namises, let's jump right into it. You were one of the people that were at the Gaup Festival this weekend, and one of the main issues there. So there are two issues that were raised there. Number one, let's start with the anthem. When Ms. Honorable Christine Klebes, who is the minister in the presidency, when she said the late Achille Doiseb is not the only one. In fact, he has only given the national anthem its melody. Can you share with us what you know and what you've observed when you were in the party structures?
Oh, in the party structures, maybe I can take two things here. I was quite at the background at the festival, and it is beautiful that I was there in my own right, but also very consciously watching from a distance. And that was a very good opportunity for myself to absorb what was happening. And on the now, I think it's for me bringing me back also into when I was in the party also. But speaking here, I will also say my apologies for speaking on without informing the family. I'm not speaking on their behalf, but I'm going to speak on what I know about this person. I must just say, I, as a young person, when I was young, had enjoyed the music, and especially Ome Achille's playing of that piano and of In the Ugly Creatures. That was a band that was somehow out in exile and somehow mostly back in the country. They made the music. They would go traveling. We call it maybe that they go out. They were never like exiling themselves, but they would travel around and come back and do the music for us. And that was the band that held our spirits and kept us alive in the belly of the beast in the country. And especially very much young and also very profoundly expressing themselves politically. And at that time, our political expression should have been and was SWAPO. So for me, in my system, when I remember, and other people can come and say I'm lying or whatever, but Anton Lobovsky was killed. And I was there, not when he was killed, but during the preparations of the funeral and all that, because I was part and parcel of the party since I was 18 years old. And mind you, I am and was a health worker. I was a nurse at the Cathedral Hospital. And we as nurses joined the party. And through my joining, I was really a young woman who was challenging some of the things. And I think through that, efforts of mine, maybe I was given also a position. First I was secretary of the youth, and then I was a chairperson of the youth league, and then I gave it over to Lucky Governor. I think so. That was how at least I was responsible within the party. Then also sometimes I was given responsibilities to work in the repatriation committee and renovating the Katutura cemetery, and yeah, many things that today only me and those participated, if they are not gone by, would share and say, this is what we did. I never went into exile. I was here. And singing a song at that occasion of Andon Lobovsky's time of burial and mourning, I remember the melody. You know, when you are young or when you are many years away from today, there are many things in our memory and in our nervous system. So when the song came out in the nation's anthem, I kind of thought, sounds familiar. And then I just knew that that must be Achali's song. But nevertheless, I further also want to highlight that there was an act of parliament that was made, and it was signed. First, there was a committee that had to look into this situation of preparing for a national anthem. I remember there was a competition, and this competition people usually sign in, and there was a competition. Achali participated, and we were talking about that. He will win, and so. And then at the end, he did. That song was taken. There are many tales, many experiences of other people, and we get our collectiveness from storytelling, from memory, from events that happened. And you have to come and prove me wrong on my own memory that I remember what happened. So with that, there was then the song. I remember Master Van Balloon, who also participated in the competition. And he didn't make it. And so Achali came. But also further, I know that when I looked at documents that we had an Act of Parliament, and that was, the competition was made, and there was a committee that was reviewing and looking at that. And people signed those documentation and put it to Parliament. And Parliament, you make an act, and that act is signed by a president. And at that time, I remember it was maybe 1999 or 1992 or so, our first president was there. So in whatever commotions that are emerging later on, there was also a discussion whilst they were both alive about this narrative. But if it was wrong, the people that signed need to clarify how did they sign and put this thing into an act. And in that act, it literally clearly says that composed, the lyrics, the everything, Achali was it. But now it was signed. So for me, when it comes to visuals and documentation, I think if there is something other than that, we have to say. So for me, from all that, I really feel it is a dishonor, especially in our tribe. Then when there is death, you don't touch on the out of order stories. You prepare yourself to mourn, and you prepare yourself to bury that person. And it starts from those immediate to the family, to the community, to the nation. For Omeachali, it is combined with all of us. I know that his last services was teaching children. My granddaughter remembers him as head teacher at the music at their school. And that means he had connections with the nation and the community and, of course, the family.
Ms. Rosa, speaking about connections with the family, connections with the nation in particular, during the Gaup festival, President Hage Geingob also made some remarks, and he said that he is the president of the country and not the president of the tribe. What do you make of that?
I was there in my camouflage there at the back, but I actually felt like stepping up to the podium to say to the president, Edo, don't say that, Omeage. But I think people are made up of tribes to communities. We don't just have a nation, boom, there you have a nation. No, you come from a clan, you come from different levels, and then you create your nation and you make the Namibian house. And for me, Namibians are made up of people who speak different languages, who act differently according to their cultures, and people who live different lives. Mm-hmm. And these people are the ones making up the Namibian nation. So I think for me, it is something that we have to think about and something that we have to understand. Maybe because the president was talking to us, the Ngokwe people, I think maybe he was not saying tribal in terms of calling all others. Maybe he was saying, I'm not a Damara president. Maybe that's what he was saying from my understanding, because he was speaking to us then. So he must have said it may be tribal, but maybe he meant I'm not a Damara president only. I'm a president of the country. And I think I was just sitting there and thinking, but why now? It doesn't fit. My feeling was the president would have embraced us, calling us to unity, calling us to share with us about being culturally active, and Namibian constitution provides that, and reprimanding us that we don't step on other people's cultures and that we must be respectful and do this in total embrace and express ourselves together with the Namibian nation. I was hoping that he was going to give us that kind of a embracing message because it's also end of the year almost, and he has not been coming. We have been inviting him, and fortunately for me, I was party to preparations of the cultural festival for quite a long time before, and I remember we had 2016 expecting him so much, and it was like this, that he was going to come, and so we had this beautifully prepared space for him. And when we heard he was not coming, a little girl, I think she was just getting tired. She went to sit on that chair that we have prepared for the president, and she was falling asleep then. And there's a beautiful picture about that. And when he finally came, I was like, now we can remove the little girl and release her from waiting for her president to come to his own festival. I think that for me pains me. But who am I to really revoke what the president says? If he feels like that, that's his, and he must own to it. But I know that he's a Ngokwe person. He's a Teyotama, and beautifully I had witnessed him being blessed by the elders at the Sun Festival by the fireplace, and I'm happy about that he did that, and that he finally came to conclude that open gap with whatever he said. I think, humanly speaking, it is going to be not taking away much from them to come up and say they apologize. I think that's what we are. We all err, and in our era, the most humble thing to do is to say we are sorry. especially sorry to the family of Oneuptwo, his
Rosa,
wife.
we have to go for a short break and then we'll be right back.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll be right back and then we'll continue on that.
Newsprint Namibia is a web offset printing operation that specializes in the printing of newspapers and commercial inserts. We are the leaders in our industry with the highest quality print work and the shortest turnaround time from computer to print and delivery anywhere in the country daily. Newsprint was established mainly as a newspaper print company, but had to diversify its business to do commercial printing as required in the market. We print commercial inserts previously printed in South Africa in the shortest possible time. We, as an organization, also started printing workbooks for our education system and will also print textbooks for the Namibian market. For more information, please contact print@newsprint.com.
Welcome back. Now, before we've gone on a break, if you've just joined us, we have in studio Ms. Rosa Namises, a social activist, and she is here to help us reflect on the memory of the late Oneuptwo, who was renowned for having composed the Namibian national anthem, Land of the Brave. Ms. Namises, before we went on a break, you said that it is necessary for the presidency to apologize. And why do you feel strong about that?
I think apologies are very important, to say sorry to somebody. But in this case also, it's very important to apologize because somebody has lost a family member and is in mourning. And what we did at the moment, what happened then, is adding up to the pain and cutting it much more deeper than one can imagine. Everybody is really affected by death of somebody, but especially when we lose somebody like people who have been national leaders, like Omeachali, somebody that has been really a father of children. I think when you hurt such a person, he cannot ask and express his hurt on what has happened. We, the other people, are doing that, and maybe the family also has no time now to really go out and ask somebody to say, please, can you ask for them to ask apology? But they feel hurt, and when they feel hurt, it's important that it might not be even now, because the funeral is still happening. We usually, in our language, we say, "Tshabab kan huyo." Then after that, you start to talk and do that. Now that means the person is buried and the situation has moved beyond the grave. And then we can talk a lot of things. Now, this talk has just come maybe not even into 2 weeks of the person's passing, and it is very bad. So for that reason, after the funeral even, it is very important for people to say, we are sorry. To say we are sorry is not only to the presidency. It is something humanly that needs to be done when you wrong people. And as I'm now speaking, I remember we have many places where we have not said sorry to our nation as well. And I remember immediately, why it comes now into my memory, I don't know. But for example, the party has never said sorry to those who have been killed in the dungeons.
Ms. Namises, do you think the fact that what would you say are some of the memories that has flooded back to you this weekend when that happened?
Yeah. I think because what you look at the people and many reflections comes to you. Politically speaking, my membership, being a member of that organization, came to me. The labeling of innocent people and to their death came to me. I link the death of Omeachali to some death of other people, for example, who died in the dungeons. Those memories came to me. Flashbacks came to me. My own struggle to get out of the party came to me because I was said I was a spy here in the country. Now to say to somebody, you have not written the lyrics of that song, you were not alone in preparing that. I mean, so it came to me. I was alone in prison. There was nobody else when I was alone in the prison cells. So maybe I will also be told one day that you never went to prison. So those things really flash back onto me. And it is very painful to hear them like that. And to have such traumatic reflections and flashbacks are also not good for me. But I think it's good that they came so that I am able to acknowledge the reality. Because my question was, why was this talked about at a festival? Why was it put there and out in the public? I have never heard from all the people who have passed and they were put as heroes and they were put for official burials and they were put for state funerals. I have never heard even Master, may his soul rest in peace, Carl List, or when I just remember any other high-level persons that were passing. I never heard that people came to the public to say about they have not done this and they have not participated in the struggle. They were rather giving them allocates. So I was wondering why this was happening.
Ms. Namises, speaking about your question on why that happened at this festival and it has not happened at other events or funerals of other people that has long passed on. There's been this perception, of public perception, that the president has deemed the Damara people non-important compared to the Avambo community, where he has attended cultural festivals, almost every other cultural festival. What do you make of the president's perceived attitude towards other communities and compared to the Olufuko, for instance, which he regularly attends?
I would respond on this question a bit differently, in the sense that our country got independent because it was not good to be the way we were. And we understood it very deeply that we need to make the changes for the betterment of all of us living on this land of the brave. And our understanding and mine was that very maybe a dom gedroom kind of dream, that these dreams that you have, that things will be good, will be changing. You trust and you believe and you live that dream. That was it. And when our country's fight was there to liberate us, and we had an instrument through which we could liberate ourselves, I realized that it will be different. But I come every time across a situation where I see and question is it tribalist that is happening in this country? Why are some people in bigger numbers employed than other people? Why do you go to custom and find 10 people standing there speaking in one language, understanding themselves as staffs and as colleagues in one language? Why is it that children who are impoverished are coming from certain language groups? Why is it that people would easily say it like the lawmaker has said, the Damara people are just good for drinking and good for fighting and stepping? What is creating this kind of information and utterances and scenes in our society? Why is it that a list that is coming up in the South is not inclusive of all the people? Why is people being drove down to go and vote and people have to complain that these people have just come overnight? What is it? And that kind of questions makes us also bring us to the question of starting to see other people less than what they are. And sometimes yourself may be degrading yourself in the sense of your own ethnicity and also your own clan or your own language group. And that's when you start to project that to your kin and also to those that speak maybe your language. So I feel there is a very big trauma with all of us. We have been made especially smaller all the time. As a Damara speaker, sometimes being a Ngukwe person, for example, this thing of bringing the Horokwes up here and everybody being so angry, some of them, about that and trying to be very negative is a sign of something deeper. That how can these people rise to this level? How can they dress up and stand tall and be recognized? Can they do this? You know, it's that kind of indignifying ourselves and also therefore joining those who say that we are nothing. And it is something that we must heal ourselves from. Namibians must do personal, individual self-reflection. It is like, I remember the then NG Kerk saying they are the chosen people by God. That's the kind of understanding and notion. When this man in Opuo died, Himba White, his story tells about we were brought up wrongly. Our upbringing was not correct. That's what he says in his story about looking at other people. And I think in our small group in the Ngukwe and moving out into the vibrancy of the other clans, it becomes that kind of an argument where we feel that the Ngukwe Damara people don't mean much. And even the San are not even recognized. We call them marginalized. But I want to tell ourselves that they are not marginalized. They have skills. They know things that we don't know, including the Ngukwe people. They are clever where it fits the cleverness. And therefore, they have other things that we need to bow down to them and embrace them and recognize them and keep on acknowledging them rather than keeping on saying, I'm not this. We are what we are because we could not choose our origin and our start. And we are here and we have to live with all of the other people. And we have to be tolerated. And if we are wrong, we need to be corrected. But we have to be given also our existence to live and be acknowledged for what we are. For example, like Omeachali, who has written this great song that we have today, that we so much bow to. You know, I remember I was brought up as a Catholic child, and the Catholic bells are ringing at given times. And for example, at 12, then they call it the Angelus, and you have to stand still, quiet, and pray that Angelus. And that's the kind of feeling that I have with the national anthem, that wherever in the morning, when the radio plays it, I get up off my bed. It's like an Angelus for me, but not the church Angelus. It's my nation, it's my pride. And I get up, and then those two songs gets me up. And I cannot allow that person that has made me feel like this to be degraded. Is it only because he is a Damara? And we should not do that. We must not.
Thank you very much for joining us and for your insight and wisdom, as Namises.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you for tuning in. Please have a good evening.